Logistics is a $1 trillion industry that still runs like it's 1999, and Diego is trying to change that. We unpack how AI can automate the broker role without breaking trust or workflows. This episode is all about where efficiency, humans, and machine intelligence collide. What excites you about automation in the logistics industry?
I think it unlocks some efficiency possibilities that could not be achieved when humans were doing the operations. Like there's essentially logistics, I think, is like the trespassing of information in order to trespass goods afterwards. So that trespassing of information is done by humans and it's super inefficient. It's done by email, WhatsApp, phone, and it's like long email chains just to move a load from point A to point B, which you depend on having everybody available 24/7, which is not the case. And then everybody has to remember certain details, which doesn't happen. And I think the LLMs or AI reached the point where they can solve these types of problems. They have the reasoning that almost mimics a human being, and their context window expanded in a way that they can solve these long problems with long context. And yeah, I think it's gonna be like a game changer in these scenarios, like where a broker is essentially a guy or a team connecting different stakeholders, where this is done automatically with the same kind of engagement.
It's fascinating to me that it's taken so long, because this AI and automation and all of these different tools have been used in so many different industries for so long.
Yeah.
And like logistics is an age-old industry, right? It's existed since we were able to ship goods and services, whatever, right? Like, so why do you think it's taken so long for people to innovate in this space?
Yeah, I don't think it's taken long for people to innovate. Like there's been tons of companies trying to solve this issue. Each one with, I think, their different approach, some things that work well, some things that doesn't. My experience in logistics, especially here in Latin America, where most people and most companies operate still with WhatsApp and these typical traditional information, tools. And some companies have tried to develop like a track and trace or a platform where you can like communicate with several team members or homologate communication. But I think in Mexico, it hasn't quite clicked because of this, because they still have to rely on humans. They rely on the tools. We like as Mexicans or as Latin Americans, the human part of like, okay, I need this now, so I'm gonna call him, text him, whatever, which you don't get when you're like interacting by yourself with a platform. And I think LLMs, like you're not getting the human part, as in you're not speaking to a human, but you get kind of like that same interaction that I think people like. Like myself, I don't really like talking to bots. Like I get desperate pretty easily when, I don't know, I have to complain about something at a store or get something back to like that I purchased and it's a bot. And I don't really feel that I get anywhere with it. So I like quickly look where I can search. But it's, I think, because of the mechanics of like answer A or B, and after B, then several other questions. And I think LLMs now can kind of understand like your speech, your text, your like, and you can put it however you want and it'll understand even better than probably a human, right? So I think there's been innovations. I don't think that there's been like kind of the correct one and adapts correctly. And since AI is just recently getting to a place where it can solve these business issues, probably that's, I think, the perfect time to like, okay, let me try this in logistics.
Cool. So it's not that there hasn't been innovation or attempted innovation. It's more so that like people value the human touch, but the human touch is potentially inefficient. Yeah. So they need like LLMs, bots, or not bots rather, but
kind of like a hybrid between digitalization and interaction as they are used to. So the interaction is digitalized like from the get-go. So whenever we're having, or I'm having a conversation with this LLM, all my conversation, all my data, everything is structured, like is gathered in a structured database and a vectorized database that the LLM knows how to act quickly. So he or the LLM knows what to do even before like the human knows what to do or what he's asking about.
Like it can anticipate what the needs are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So how did you identify this opportunity? Did you work in logistics previously?
Yeah, I've been in logistics probably since I graduated from college. I studied industrial engineering, which is kind of a branch. Like there was some logistics courses that I took, which I loved, but it was more kind of like route optimization and the math behind logistics, not really like the brokerage part of it. And I started as a consultant in a logistics consulting firm, pretty small. And then I entered the startup world in a logistics company that actually turned out to be a pretty good one here from Monterey. And I was there 5 years, and that's where I learned about this industry, how it worked. They were more targeting imports and exports. Ocean freight was their like specialty, but I saw the inefficiencies of the road freight in Mexico specifically because how fragmented the industry is. Like there's trucking companies that are huge, like 2% of the trucking, the whole like I don't know, the fleet in Mexico is enterprise huge companies, and the other 98% is companies with less than 30 trucks.
Oh.
So technology adoption for this company specifically is not kind of like a priority. So they still operate the way they used to, and that's, I think, where the whole chain of inefficiency starts, because of the kind of trucking companies and the whole way they operate.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So maybe some of these bigger businesses do have efficiencies built in, but that only makes up for 2% of the total.
Yeah. Like they have efficiencies built in, they have bigger teams, but they still don't operate efficiently in a way that they still need people to scale, because it's still people handling the operations, handling the requests. They need truck drivers. They need, like, it's a big operation, a big company. But yeah, they invest and implement technology platforms and everything. But in order for them to like achieve an efficiency that can be unlocked with AI, they like their headcount can't, I think, support it. So it's pretty tough on them, like, to go back to something more efficient, because they have all these people already. So yeah, I think that's kind of a way to think about it.
Totally. What do you think is going to be your biggest challenge with adoption? Like, I'm thinking a little bit forward in the sense that, like, at least in my experience in Canada, the trucking industry, the logistics industry in general, as we discussed, is quite old, right, in nature. And through that light, it takes them a long time to adopt new things. Is that going to? Do you anticipate that being a challenge?
I don't think that's going to be a challenge, because they really don't have to adopt anything. Like, they'll still interact the way they're used to. My biggest challenge, I think, is having the LLM like earn the trust of the user, because I think if you get like a single conversation wrong, or like it seems like it's a robot that's like really automated with specific rules, I think people lose trust, and that won't work. Like, right now we're working on kind of mimicking the human behavior and like how humans respond, so that doesn't happen, or that happens as little as possible. Because right now we get the bot like with big answers like, thank you for the quote, like, and I say adjust okay, it can be fine. And that's like kind of what we're teaching it. We're trying to differentiate the model by making it as human and as logistic savvy as possible. And I think that's also a great moat going forward. Like, if we create the AI that can replicate like human in logistics much better than the rest, I think it's hard for other companies to implement these sorts of things.
For those listening who maybe don't understand the complexities of logistics and the problem that you're solving, can you give like an elevator pitch as to what your product and what your service is going to solve?
Yeah, so whenever a shipper is trying to move a load from A to B, he needs to, if he doesn't have its own fleet, he needs to hire fleet to move it, right? So he can go directly to the shipping companies, I mean the carrier companies, the trucking companies, and select which one fits the criteria, quote with one or many, and then select which one it is and create the movement, right? Following up with the trucking company and like that. But brokers exist because this company rarely has the team or the capacity to be going after trucking companies, like having 20 different trucking companies in their supplier portfolio so they can easily quote with all of them and select and analyze the best one and then follow up with the trucking company, because it's hard like to follow up with a trucking company because they start the ride and you probably don't know where it is until it arrives, if it arrives, right? So the broker exists to facilitate that part, right? So the broker is in charge of having all these suppliers, of vetting them, understanding like how they operate, what are their strengths, weaknesses. And whenever a shipper wants to load moved from A to B, instead of reaching out to 20 trucking companies, he reaches out to the broker. The broker does the part of looking at options, evaluating, and sends back a single proposal on the name of the brokerage. So the shipper is like, okay, or can negotiate, like I want a better rate. So the broker gets to negotiate back and until they get an agreement like, okay, let's do it, let's move the truck. And then the shipper follows up with the broker, which is typically a company that has a better follow-up than a trucking company. So you get a dedicated account executive, an operations executive, customer service, like it's more of a formal operation. So shippers truly or prefer to deal with these types of companies. And the broker is in charge of getting the information from the carrier and being in touch and everything, and they have specialized people to do that, right? So essentially, the broker is like doing this job for the shipper. And on my particular project, all this going and back and forth of information is going to be done by LLMs and AI.
Has anybody, like in your research, has anybody done this kind of thing before or attempted it?
Yeah, so there are several companies in the US that understand the problem, are trying to solve it, but they have a different approach. Like they are creating agents or LLMs that then they sell to these shippers. So a shipper that, or to the broker or logistics companies as well. So a shipper or a logistics company that wants to quote and always quotes with the same carriers, they can like get the service, get an agent to do this specific workflow and automate that, right? But in my experience, I don't think that's a correct approach in Mexico, because adapting or implementing an AI agent to your operations is a bit complex. Like you need to dedicate a specific engineering team. Your team has to understand how to implement and maintain those agents. So our approach is a bit different in a way that we are like creating the whole automation instead of selling specific agents for specific workflows. And the broker as a whole will solve kind of like the inefficiencies, but just like a plug and play with our customers or our trucking companies. Like they will be interacting with LLMs, but they don't have to implement anything. It's just gonna be like the same way they're used to operate. Yeah.
What's the launch strategy for you? Because I imagine like adoption is obviously crucial, right? Having clients off the get-go, and then probably word of mouth is going to be big for you, obviously, because it's not a small industry, like a very large industry, but it's all like very intertwined, if that makes sense, right? So what is your launch strategy? Because I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're looking at launching in November.
Yeah. The idea is to launch in November. Like right now we're getting everything in place. We're looking for investments. We're developing the technology, the demos, everything, right? As we get the legal structure ready, because we plan on beginning operations with kind of like a human in the loop as our models train and understand how to manage certain edge cases and stuff like that. So yeah, we plan on launching November, and I have kind of like a very robust network of logistics, trucking companies, shippers. Also my friends, most of them have shipping like companies that ship products. So I think we're gonna take that route, like kind of founder-led go to market. And automate like the top of the funnel. Like there's also a lot of tools now to automate outbound sales. So that's a pretty big thing. I implemented those tools. So that could also be like, 6 months in, like if we see that the AI is capable of handling more problems and more tasks and more everything, like start doing that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of the whole thing here is that you will learn very quickly, and the AI will learn very quickly what's possible in the future, right? Because it's an expanding technology day by day.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also positive that we don't have to have the technology perfect before running operations. Like we can do it, and we are going to do them like in a traditional manner, obviously with the AI helping us out before, like, because it's like developing this AI structure is complex. We need a team, we need time, so, and we also need customers and money, so we have to like handle those two things at the same time, right?
For sure, yeah, balance, yeah,
balance them.
Yeah, makes sense. What do you think? I mean, you've identified this opportunity. You worked in logistics for years after school, and you live in a world where AI is prominent, and you know how to use it. These sort of things.
Yeah.
But what do you think uniquely positions you to solve this problem?
Yeah. Well, I think the experience in a tech company in logistics is pretty invaluable. Like I know how the problem has been approached, and I know how the customers use the solution and what they liked, what they didn't like. So I think that gives me a huge advantage given the company it was and the scale it went to. Like I was there from the beginning, and 5 years later it was a much bigger company. So I think that's a pretty unique position. Not many people can say they've been in the logistics company that had the most success as a startup in Mexico. And also I complemented my skill set, which is more like on the sales and operations side, with a CTO that's like an AI engineer. So I think both of us, like dedicating our whole time to do this project and make it a reality, it's a huge advantage to anybody, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you've dove right in. This is your full-time gig. This is what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's tough. I think the hardest part of entrepreneurship is like starting out, like, and not looking back, because it's easy to like get distracted on, oh, am I doing the right thing? Oh, is this the correct way to do this? Oh, I don't know, I'm having trouble with some investments. Like, is this really a product that people will value? But like, getting rid of all that noise and just going forward, I think that's the way to accomplish this. And that's what I tell my co-founder, like, we're 100% dedicated to this, and we're gonna make it happen. If we don't get any investment and we have to bootstrap this whole project, it can be done as well. It will be slower, but we can do that as well. So there's nothing that's gonna stop us from trying and executing some operations. And yeah, like that's a cool thing, I think.
Yeah, you're going full steam ahead regardless, right? Like if it's a little bit slower, that's fine. But if if you get the investment, then awesome. That noise that you're talking about is so prominent for everybody. Every entrepreneur feels that. And I think what that is it's doubt, right? It's like this doubt creeping in. It's like, oh, you can't, or you're going to be too slow, or somebody else is going to do it faster, or whatever. How do you filter that out actively? Because nobody doesn't get that. Nobody doesn't feel those things. But I think, the successful entrepreneurs are able to filter that out a lot faster.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think it's kind of like an imposter syndrome kind of thing, which I've felt and I've dealt with before in other parts of my trajectory. And I talked to it with coaches and psychologists, and I think it's a great subject because like I don't really know. I'm just like I know I'm gonna do this, so I'm going straight ahead and doing it. But I get these sorts of questions and doubts and everything, and I don't know, like I see people that are successful entrepreneurs, and like I know I have the skill set or like that mimics them or even better. So like, why can't I do it? That's kind of like my mindset. Like, I think I have the idea. It's all about execution now. So just executing. I think there's no, like, I don't want to say there's no way to fail, but like we are going to launch something, and that's, I think, a great success in itself. I think I heard in a podcast, the founder of Whoop, I think his name is Will, he said like startups fail only because of two things, and it's either the founders quit or they run out of money, right? So that's kind of like the whole mindset as well. Like if we don't quit, I don't think there's a way we can fail.
What kind of factors led into that mindset that you have? Is there like experiences growing up? Were your parents entrepreneurs? Like walk me through that.
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. I think it's has to do a lot with like my surroundings. Yeah, my dad was an entrepreneur. He's been all his life. And most of my friends' dads are also kind of like entrepreneurs and they own their own business. And since I was little, I thought like this is the only way to be successful, which I was wrong. But I had this in my mind, like since small age, that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and I wanted to found my own company. And even before I knew what founder meant or what it even meant to create or run your own company, I knew I wanted to do that. So I wouldn't say I've worked my whole life towards it because I didn't really know how to. So I like ended up going through the startup part, which I loved, and it really helped me out because at a startup, I think you get a great point of view on how a business is run, like from the beginning to the end. Like you see all these ways of operating, which are kind of scrappy, and you like get a sense of how easy it seems to do it. And that's a good thing. Like you, even though it's not, it's pretty hard, but you convince yourself like, wow, I can do this as well. So I think the early mindset, these experiences, I was just like, I've always been looking like for the great idea or the correct idea to like, okay, I'm gonna quit my job now and start. But it's tough. Like the idea doesn't come. Like I always thought as well that, oh, a friend is gonna come over and with an idea and we'll work on it together. That didn't come as well. And like I thought, okay, I have to come up with the idea and I have to execute it myself and I have to get a co-founder myself. And so I put that all on me and I executed that. But because I've always wanted to do that, right? So yeah, I think it's that, the experience I got and seeing like, okay, this is something I can do. And then just like going out and do it is kind of like where what I did.
Yeah. I feel like everybody waits for the perfect idea, right? It's like, okay, it'll come to me, and when it does, then I'll dive all the way in. But like often, I mean, you hear, successful entrepreneurs talk about kind of their winning idea was never the one that they thought was going to win. In fact, it's often a pivot from something that actually lost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking like, okay, I gotta keep my eyes open for opportunities. Like if I become kind of like an expert in logistics, like I can find an inefficiency, and that's kind of like what happened, like not at that specific time, but I learned a lot about the industry. Like I think without any industry experience and without being like in a company before founding my own, I don't think it'd be the same. That's where I also learned how to manage people. I managed a team, several teams, and I think that experience also proved to me like, okay, I can manage team. People can trust me on managing them. So all those kinds of parts like all came up to this point where I found myself in a position where I had some time and I had the idea. I had my time as a human, like my age, I don't know how to call, like recently married, like everything like kind of got together and I say, okay, this is the time. It's the best time I've ever gonna have. Probably, or I don't know if this is gonna be a success, but I know that I'd be kind of looking back thinking, why didn't I start this during that time where I had all possibilities open? I had the network, I had the time, I had the money. So I think it was the perfect opportunity to do this.
There's a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening to this conversation right now that are maybe working in a corporate job or a company that's similar to what you did previously, and then thinking about kind of taking that next step to start their business, go all in, etc. Right?
Yeah.
My question to you is, if you're in that space, you're in that space of learning and you're failing on somebody else's dime, if you will, right? Like, where should people like sharpen their tools? What should they look for? How should they continue to learn in a corporate role that might set them up for success in a founder role?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I think they have to do the best, put in their best work to the best of their abilities in whatever it is they're doing, because you make a brand for yourself, you make a name for yourself, and also not take advantage, but like be mindful of your network and the people you're meeting, because you never know when in the future these people will be able to help you. Because being an entrepreneur, like you can do it by yourself. Like you need help from friends, colleagues, anybody who's willing to help. And I think if you work correctly, like you do good work, people know you do good work, and you surround yourself with good people of value, you will eventually have their help when you're trying to fund a company or start a new project or anything, right? So I think like people who might be on a corporate job thinking like, okay, I won't like do my best because I have a plan of doing my new project down the line. That's a mistake, because like people won't be able to trust you with anything if you didn't prove yourself back then, right? So I think that's like a tip I'd give anybody in that situation. Like, be mindful of your network and do your best job in anything you're doing.
You mentioned earlier that you have a CTO.
Yeah.
And obviously that's integrally important for what you're building. What were some of the things you were thinking about when you were choosing who to partner with or who to hire?
Yeah, to me, it was important to have the kind of same values, be on the same kind of age, mindset, and that we were all going to be all in. Also, it's going to get pretty tough. It is pretty tough. So someone that's resilient and knows how to manage this stress and workload and everything, and that complements that technical part that I don't have. So that were kind of like the 3 or 4 characteristics that I was looking for. It's quite funny because my current CTO, I met him online. I talked to several other people from past companies and in my network that were either engineering managers or data managers, or they had the skill set, but none of them kind of like connected with me the way he did. He also had the plus that his family owns a trucking company, so he knows the struggles, he knows the issues, and we connected over the issues. Like, we met online, I think it was a Friday, we had a meeting. Over the weekend, he sent me the proposal of how he'd see the architecture of the AI being done. And by Monday, I told him like, let's do this. So it was pretty quick. I think like when you know, and also I think it was quite lucky because I was willing to get another operations co-founder and start a traditional brokerage and then invest in technology afterwards. I was about to go down that road because I couldn't find a CTO. And well, it happened like in the last minute, because that Friday I had the meeting with the current CTO and I went to lunch with the other guy that I wanted to join as a co-founder. In the end, like I decided to go the technical route, like go the AI route, full technology from the get-go. And we got to the agreement with the other guy that he'd start out when we can pay him. So we got kind of like the best of both worlds in that interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating. It's interesting. You're the second person. I chatted with somebody yesterday that also attributed a really great relationship and like meeting of somebody to luck. And fair enough. But I also think there's so much intention there, right? Like, you were looking for a while and it just so happened that you found the right person because it was right place, right time, good connection, etc.
And I tried with several people, and also once, I don't remember who quoted this, but there is a guy that measures luck as a KPI, which is kind of hard, but he says, like, I put myself in the most amount of situations where luck can happen, right? So when you, I don't know, are having lunch with someone and want to meet another guy, and like that increases your chances of finding the correct co-founder. And that I think applies to like every part of entrepreneurship, right? Like, you have to get out there, go to meet people, because you never know. And the more people you meet, the more like luck will happen, right? So like this podcast, like I think it's one of those opportunities, like, okay, I'm gonna take advantage of this opportunity and I don't know what might happen with it. So every time a situation like this comes up, I try to take advantage of it, and that way I think luck can be maximized a bit.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love that formula for maximizing luck.
Yeah.
I'm more on board with the word luck now after that.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I found really interesting since we arrived in Monterey was this sense of startup community. Even before we came, we were having all these conversations about the power of community and how we talked about this earlier. Like, it's a large city, but the founder community is small. How have you integrated into the founder community here, and what is the importance of that to you and your business?
Yeah, I really haven't, I think, integrated like proactively to the founder community. I've been like working more on developing the product and stuff. I've been talking to kind of like investors, advisors, but most of them are outside of Monterey. I'm actually kind of struggling to find the correct ecosystem here in this city. But I know there's a founder community. I know they support each other and stuff. I'm just like, I think one step behind where I'm like kind of building the first bricks of the company. So I'm relying more on people outside of here than people in here. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's where my network was, and that's, yeah.
Totally. I mean, you have to be where your network is, right? And like, you have to focus your efforts on what makes most sense for you at the time. So I totally get it. Let's talk about fundraising. So talk to me about how you've been funded so far, if at all, and what your plan is for fundraising and where that money will go.
Yeah, so we are proactively fundraising. We're not complete with the process. I'm talking to anybody who'd listen. Like, really, I love talking about the product. I love having conversations where people can give me feedback about what they see right, what they see wrong, what they like, I don't know, advice of any kind. And yeah, I've been talking for funds, angel investors, everything that I've known, like, and it's funny because I get a sense that everybody's trying to be helpful, right? Even if they don't invest, like, they kind of like celebrate the fact that you are like going out there and trying to raise money and such. So I'm going the venture capital route with this project. I think it can be a huge project. The market is massive for the trucking industry, and I'm raising my pre-seed right now, and that goes directly to funding operations, funding some salaries for a team, especially for developers, and yeah, that's about it.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Has it been, has the process of finding VC and that sort of thing been harder or easier than you expected?
I think it's been what I expected in the process. I've seen a mix, or not a mix, I've seen like a different kind of point of views from Mexican or Latin American funds than American funds. I think American funds are more likely to make a big bet in this phase. Latin American funds are kind of like waiting for some traction, some revenue, which I don't know, like I'm dealing with both sides of the equation. American funds tell me I'm raising too little. Mexican funds until that I'm raising too much. So it's like getting a sense of what I have to be doing, what I have to be raising in order to like achieve what we need. But yeah, I've enjoyed the process. Actually, I love talking to people, meeting new people. Most people I meet are like encouraged, like they connect me with other people they know. So it's been kind of like a web where I'm meeting new people, and I think it's great. So it's hard in a sense that, yeah, you get the first pitch, you get good feedback, and then sometimes like you don't get an answer for weeks or months. So it's all about like updating like showing that you're resilient enough to go ahead and execute, which we are doing, even if they don't invest, right? So you meet with an investor, and a couple of weeks later you send an update like, hey, this is our new product demo, or hey, this angel investor just recently joined. So that's how you're like putting the puzzle together as you go. And I think timing is a very important part of it, because I started talking to investors just as I got the co-founder. We didn't have anything, but just to let them know that I'm doing this, that I have this idea, that I've been working on it. They are glad to give feedback, and they ask you to keep them in the loop as you progress. And I think that's a huge part of it. Like, don't wait until you need the capital to reach out to investors. Like, start building those relationships before, start working those relationships. And even if they don't invest, like mostly help out with some feedback and other connections, and you never know when in the future like you can help them or they can help you. So I think that's also what it's all about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it kind of goes back to what you were saying earlier in relation to how to get the most out of a current corporate job or whatever the case, which is build that relationship. I forget who said it, but I heard somebody say network is net worth.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true, right? Like you said, like build that relationship up front, ensure that you're because you never know when you're going to need it.
Yeah. And also about that, like you're also need to be willing to put in that relationship. Like it's not just ask, like that's also important. Like whenever someone asks for your help, like also just go ahead and give it. You can also end up with a good relationship. Like I think it's a great part about like us as humans being a community with help each other, and yeah, the network part is really important. Like two of my advisors right now are colleagues from an earlier company, that one is an expert in AI, the other is an expert in kind of venture capital and growth. And they've been helping me out with connections, like with, okay, this is good, this is bad. And I think it's great because one of them entered even before like anything. And I think he helped me like, okay, this guy is believing in me, he's investing his time, because he invests, like we have 1 hour every week at a meeting, like to catch up and update. So it was a huge help, like mentally, okay, like this guy is someone I can week to week tell him about the progress, and he's willing to devote his time. So I think like that was it was helpful to me in a way that, okay, someone's already committed, like I have to deliver.
That's they have a buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Cool. How important is, we talked about like kind of founder community, but I want to make it more personal. Like how important is community around you? And maybe that's in the form of a mentor or a friend or a co-founder or whatever the case when you're building, because it's not easy, right? We talked about this doubt thing earlier, but even having your, sorry, what was the word you used? Not coach, but like advisors. Yes. Yeah. What role do they play? And how have you personally seen value beyond the company, but also just ensuring that, you feel good about what you're doing? Yeah.
Well, this advisor, he's helped me since since we worked together. So we've built this relationship throughout, 5-6 years. And he's been helping, like he's been through this. He founded his own company now. He's steps ahead. So he's been helping me out with like, okay, for fundraising, like you need this, you need to connect with this. This is the way it goes. Don't get frustrated if this guy doesn't answer, like that's the way it is. And I think that's helpful because I'm not lost in a way that, okay, he didn't answer. What's next? Is my product bad? Like he just like, he's been through it. So he knows like kind of what goes on in the venture capital world. And the community part, I think it plays a huge deal in everything you're trying to build. Like nobody gets where they need to be alone. Like you need people from, like even if you're a solo founder, you need people to help you, either as advisors, as customers, like you need help, right? So right now, we don't have customers because we can't operate, but we have design partners helping us with our models, improve them. And those are, all 4 of them are friends of mine that they have companies that ship. So I asked them, hey, can I talk to your traffic coordinator to see if he'd be interested in using our models and see what he thinks? Yeah, sure, go ahead. And having those design partners helps me with credibility with other investors or other advisors, right? So, and I wouldn't be able to do it if they weren't offering help.
So you talked about how like the US market is different, right? Like some people are doing similar kind of things in regards to automation in the US market, but it's completely different than the problem that you're solving here in Mexico. And in a pre-production call before recording today, we had talked about kind of the scalability of going larger than Mexico, right? Going down to Latin America, et cetera, et cetera. How do you think this model will scale in other markets in the future? I know that's down the line, but...
No, and it's an important question because right now I'm pitching to investors, and like the whole idea is to become the best at this in Mexico, like to be the best broker, the most efficient, the fastest, especially in Mexico. And that's because I know the market. Like the trucking market is huge in Mexico. It's like a $46 billion industry that's only bound to grow because of nearshoring and all companies that are stationing here in Monterrey and the rest of Mexico. So Mexico as a whole like is a venture scale in market, and that's what I'm focusing on right now. Like be the best in Mexico. After brokerage, you can get like other services in the industry to make it better and like to earn more money, or I don't know, but I think Mexico as a whole is a great way to start, and also not lose track of what you're building, right? Because I've seen companies that from the get-go scale to different parts of Latin America just to match the market size of the US. And I think that's mainly like incentivized probably by funds in the US, or they are looking for a huge return, which that's basically the name of the game. But I think Latin American founders have it harder in a way that in order to match the US market, they need to open offices in other countries in South America or Latin America. And they are essentially running 8-9 companies instead of focusing on one market, one problem. Because the problems, I assume, I don't really know, in trucking in Brazil might be similar to Mexico, but I don't know. I don't know the culture. I don't know, right? So it's harder for me to match that market size if I expand geographically. Instead of like, okay, I'm going to focus on Mexico and I'm going to improve this market, not just with a brokerage, but with other services, probably even down the line owning some trucks. I don't know, like that's kind of the way I think about it. And I think it resonated with several funds well. Like as a Mexican founder, I think I should focus on solving a Mexican problem. And that's the problem I know. And that's like what we're doing.
I really admire that, and I'm almost curious why do you think people go so large scale just to compete with, like, who cares about the scale of the US? Why not just solve a local problem and then expand based on the fact that your product is good and working?
Yeah, I think that's the like not an issue, but that's the whole point of venture capital. Like as a venture capitalist investing in early stage, you need to like mathematically be capable of proving that any investment you make is able to return the whole size of your fund, which means like, I don't know, a 25-50x of your investment. And to do that, a company must sell, like if an investor is investing like $100 at, $1 million at a $10 million valuation, if the company must sell at, I don't know, 100, like public math is me. I don't really like to do it, but
a 10x would be 100.
Yeah, it's like it has to be a huge sale in order to like get the returns needed for the fund. So that's why they look for a massive scale, and it's hard in Latin America because there is very little companies that are willing to buy $1 billion company here, rather than in the US, and IPOs are also much more harder here than in the US. I think I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's the whole point of venture. Like they are betting on a company that can become the next $10 billion company, and to do that, you need either a US market or a worldwide market or a whole Latam market, right? So that's basically the premise of it, and I think I love the venture part of it, but I think it like needs sort of some modifications for Latin America in order to work here.
Well, I was chatting with a founder yesterday, and I wonder, his industry was a lot smaller, if you will, like, and I guess my question is, do you think that you have a bit of an advantage in potential to raise funds because your industry is proven, right? Like you said, trucking in Mexico is 46 billion.
Yeah.
So you're building a product that supports that industry that's already proven. So maybe the banks or whoever will take a bigger risk on you than they might in an industry that's like, not proven in Mexico, for example.
Yeah. I don't know about banks, but in venture capital, it definitely helps, or not that it helps, it's critical to be targeting a huge market because of the returns needed, and because it needs to become a company that like really transforms an industry that gets more than 1% of the market or 10% of market share. So So yeah, I think more than for banks and like that, I think that's more focused on venture capital because you can target a small niche market and bootstrap it or fund it yourself or with a bank. I don't know how that works, but I think that can be an even better success, right?
Yeah, for sure. What does success, like what are the metrics of success that you're looking for when you launch? Like immediately when you launch, what's that checklist? And you're like, okay, we're on par with where we want to be.
Yeah, I think the main metric is amount of trucks that we're able to move. And another really important, I think like almost tied or close second would be what part of the process is automated, like what percentage of the process can be fully run by AI agents and not needing a human intervention. I think will start really low, like around, I don't know, 20% AI, but the idea is to get like for above 90% everything being run by AI. But yeah, it's those two, one more on the business side and one more on the tech side.
Cool. And how many on launch do you have partnerships that are pre-existing that like people are ready to start using you right away?
Yeah, it's those companies I told you, those 4 companies that are helping us with as design partners whenever we are able to operate, because we're missing like the tax ID, but here in Mexico, it's like a huge bureaucratic process. So yeah, once we have this and we're legally able to operate, that's when we'll start with these design partners. Obviously, we have to match their rates and we have to be like have a value proposition and yeah, but they are fully onboarded like to move freight once we launch.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how about if further in the future? So we talked about checklist kind of immediately, but what does your 1 year, maybe 5 year success look like?
That's a good question. Yeah. 1 year success, probably having a full team like the one we have planned right now, fully onboarded, like culture-wise, really great. Hitting the milestone of trucks moved in month 18, that would probably be great. And 5 years from now, possibly, I don't know, it's tough. I'm very realist, but probably like, yeah, it's a tough question. 5 years from now, I don't know. That's a long way.
It's all good. It's all good. How about for you? What does success look like for you?
Success for me looks like having this company off the ground, like creating it from scratch and being able to hire people, like be that company that is good for the community, for the whole entrepreneurship ecosystem, trying to help out other founders or other people that might need help from my experience or anything. And also having a fully functioning profitable company, I think that would be great.
Yeah, awesome. Have you done calculations on how long it'll take you to become profitable? Yeah, all going well, obviously.
Yeah. With the fundraising amount we're looking and the initial team we look for, I think in about month 13, we can be profitable.
Month 13?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because with AI, I think it unlocks the possibility of having a very lean team managing a lot of shipments. I think AI is great for that, like automating most part of the process where you don't have to spend in new people or onboarding or anything. So yeah, I think with the team, I think we have calculated a team of maximum 6-7 people for the first 18 months. Yeah, we reached profitability by month 13.
And I'm curious about this whole, like I want to talk about AI, right? Because like you're obviously building with and on AI and that sort of thing. And obviously, as you know, like there's some uncertainty around AI. There's like, everybody thinks it's going to be the future. There's so many different perspectives. So as somebody who's been working with AI to build their business for the past X amount of months,
yeah,
what has your experience been and how do you see that like kind of going into the future?
Yeah, I think it is going to be kind of like a huge thing in the future, like the same impact or even more than the internet had. I think that's kind of like what this whole thing is going to do. The things I see on the internet about the whole vibe coding part of it and how everybody can do AI and use AI, I'm a little skeptical on that because I've tried it. It's not that easy, and you can automate, like without being technical, you can automate certain tasks, but in order to develop like robust infrastructure, you need to know how to code and you need to be a developer and you need to know AI. because even as a developer, like I see my CTO struggling because it's no longer code that you know where's the mistake and you correct it and it's A or B. Like right now you depend on like a model that takes decisions on its own. So debugging those decisions gets harder. Like you have to train it, you have to do some other things that you didn't do when it was just code. So that's, I think, the hard part. I think there will be more companies coming up like the one I'm building where AI is at the core since the beginning and all processes can be done with AI. More than all these companies that are saying selling kind of AI as a service, because there's I think a limited amount of platforms or products or that a company can and has to buy. I think it's more valuable I think it's more advantageous of AI to build yourself a company run by AI. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. How about I'm just thinking out loud here, but I'm imagining that some of the data that you're dealing with is sensitive, right, to the parties involved.
Yeah.
How are you managing that? Like, you know, that the security aspect of this information.
Yeah, right now we don't really have any sensitive data, so there's nothing we're proactively doing right now. Down in the roadmap, we definitely have to look into this. I've seen companies create an agent specifically tasked with hacking the system, just constantly hacking it in order to find like data breaches or anything. So that's something like that's an agent we have to create out of the hundreds of agents we need to create, because like even though it's like a simple workflow, you might think like, okay, a company needs a truck, you request it, there's so many like sub activities that have to be done, and all of them are a single agent that has to be programmed. So I think that's the hard part of it, because I've also heard like what makes any other logistics company start implementing AI and like kind of replicate what you're doing. And I mean, they could like the same way they could replicate any platform. Like it's tough to create these agents. You need to know the industry, you need to know how they operate, and also you need to have the technical capabilities of creating it. And yeah, so that's kind of like how we're looking into it.
I love this idea of a bot or an LLM or whatever that's like just constantly trying to hack your own system, right?
Yeah.
It's we were listening to a podcast the other day, and it was this prominent podcaster had built a team that their sole job is to fail.
Yeah.
Right. It's like how fast can we fail, because we're going to learn from those experiences.
Yeah.
And so that's like kind of a similar mindset.
Yeah. I really like kind of like the failure mindset. I don't know if that came out wrong, but the part of a startup that I really enjoyed was kind of this mindset of trying new things and like learning quickly from the mistakes and moving on and trying to get to the end game as possible, right? So yeah, that's also part of what I love about the startup culture. It's like very kind of, I don't know, risk taking people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Since you've left your stable job, quit your job to start on your business and become a founder, what is the single most important lesson you've learned?
The most important lesson, I think, is be resilient and convicted on the idea and that you're going to make it happen. Because I think it's easy to go back and like, man, am I doing this correctly? Like, should I start looking for a new job, or because it takes time. It's not like from day one you get the funding, you get like, it takes time to create a product, to get to know your co-founder, to work on it together, to understand how you like to work. And yeah, so I think the most important lesson is like go forward. Like it's not as hard as it seems like when you've not started. Like, because I saw entrepreneurship as this whole monster where you like, where do you even begin? And you can break apart like specific tasks to accomplish it. It takes time. That's like a huge thing, but it can be done, and you only need kind of like the conviction to do it. And yeah, hopefully it launches soon and we can like start building right now seriously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, by the time that this episode launches, I anticipate you'll be live, you'll be operating.
Yeah.
Where can we send people to follow along and check out your service?
Yeah, well, we're just having the landing page live this week actually, and it's r8, the number, log.com. And the same is on LinkedIn and everything. So yeah.
Where does the name come from, out of curiosity?
Yeah, it's funny because I really like the name NA10, the like automation tool that's been around. And I wanted to mimic, like, I think I thought AI companies wanted it's fun to have a number in them. So yeah, I want to make like a company that's kind of tech, like it's an AI company, but without losing the like, okay, we're a brokerage and we need to operate like physical movement. So I think it was a good hybrid having a number there.
Awesome. I love it. I really like it. It's catchy. It's like you could say it a number of different ways. So.
Yeah, and it's gonna be fun to see how people here in Mexico and Latin America say it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's English technically.
Yeah. Got it. Cool. Well, Diego, thanks so much for coming, man. This is an awesome conversation. Really excited to hear about what you're building and can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, perfect. No, and thank you for having me. You chose a great place to record this.
Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Awesome. Thanks again.